And there's a lot of different drippers on the market, but every dripper on the market does exactly the same thing. It takes water from a high pressure source, goes through a labyrinth, which is basically just a pressure reducer, through a tortuous path that drops that pressure and gives me a known volume with a given pressure on the inlet side. And they all do exactly the same thing. That was a graphic I put together, and this is a picture of what it actually looks like with water flowing through a dripper. And you can see this is a truly turbulent emitter, and as it passes these teeth in the dripper, you can see this little vortex that's created. This isn't, they wouldn't call this self-cleaning, but this little turbulent eddies that are created in here actually keeps a lot of that finer sediment flushed out of the dripper. And again, the whole purpose from the inlet side to the outlet side is reduce the pressure and give me a known volume on the back side. When you think about drip irrigation too, the thing that you need to think about, we've always watered with pivots or flood, and my family on farm at Tim and I grew up setting cycle too, so I've been down that road. With a drip system, you have to think more of in the nursery business. What we're watering is a lot of pots. When I put drippers out on 24-inch centers, I've got a pot that's every 24 inches down every row of the crop. And when I want the plant to have something, just like they do at the nursery, they go mix it up and they put it in the pot. If I want the plant to have it, I put it through the drip system, because that root system is going to be masked around that wet spot, because that's where all the water that it's getting supplied is coming from. If I want the plant to have it, I put it in there. Again, Rusty pointed out, insecticides, a multitude of fertilizers. There's a lot of things that we can do, and we've got a lot of chemicals now that are labeled. As an example, in corn, we're using dimethylate. It's labeled for corn rootworm, two-spotted spider mites. We use it in cotton for thrips, aphids. Like you said, the EPA loves it. The re-entry time on the chemicals we're using in the field is generally 0, because we're not applying it onto the plant. We're making the plant toxic. By doing that, we're also getting the added benefit of not destroying our beneficial populations. So when I get escapees from the application of, say, dimethylate, the ones that are left that survive it, and the only ones that really get bothered by it are the ones that bite, suck, chew, lick the plant. After that, the beneficial populations keep going and keep multiplying, take care of the escapees and any incoming pests that we might have. I hate to use this word, but it is very green. Now, with the drip system, what you see on the surface is just a small part of what's going on. And you need to think about this now. And sometimes, when you look at that, what's below the surface can be a problem too. It can be a problem. And using the wrong chemicals, the wrong fertilizer, not maintaining your system, you can have a problem that will jump up and bite you. One of the issues that has come up with every drip system is in germination. And I know there's been some issues or impossibilities in germination in some areas. Usually that's in the extremely tight soils and in the really sandy soils. This particular field is an Amarillo fine sandy loam, and the tape is on the 80s. And you can see we were able to get moisture to the surface. It takes a little bit of management. We have some techniques that we've developed through the years that actually have helped us to be able to get that water to the germination. But one of the things that's really helped is the rain, the snow, the freezing thawing on it, get that bed settled down so that we have our compaction at a point where we can move water up to that seed bed. Once we get it germinated, we don't want to see it wet on the surface. This is some data that's put together by Dan Creed. You can see here with a clay, silt, and a loamy sand soil, what our evaporative losses are out to 10 days. And if you notice in that clay, we continue to have evaporation from the wet soil surface for 10 days. With the silt loam, it stops at about somewhere between 4 and 5, and the sand at about 2 days, because it breaks that suction and you can't pull it out anymore. But you can effectively, with the surface application, you can pull all that moisture back out of the soil if you wet the surface. It's a chilling effect. it begins to wick that water, the air's pulling it, and the capillary contraction moves it up. So we want to keep it dry once we get into it. And covered by crop. Excuse me. Whenever you're designing a system, again, for us to point this out, thing you've got to know. The other thing when you put in a drip system you need to look at is what crops are you growing now and what crops do you want to grow in the future, or think outside the box, what might you want to grow in the future. And make sure that when you put that system in, it's designed to handle whatever you might want to do. I've got some guys right now that have type 180s and that have water and wish they could grow corn, but you can't grow corn in a sandy-loam soil on 80s and do a very good job. And they wished it was on 40s. Probably 95% of the systems I put in today were on 40s. For exactly that reason, thinking ahead. Things that we've done, this one is of Bolton, Texas. This was year before last. This was 278 bushel white corn. 4.5 gallons a minute. We got some summer rainfall. This is over in the Hatch Valley, New Mexico. They've got it contracted for silage for dairies. What you see in the background is onions. This is a permanent system. The tape here is buried about right at 9 inches deep. This is, what's onion prices today? Is it right now? Because this is 1,800 sacks to the acre. Watermelons with wheat as a windbreak to protect those plants from the gun. Potatoes. Cabbage. I took this picture of one of my trips to Israel. This is in the Negev desert in southern Israel. It's in Arizona, Durham wheat. The end of this road back on the other side there is Mexico. This is in southern New Mexico, outside of Columbus. This was 128 bushels hard ridden wheat. The drip taping, this is on 40s. We actually put the system in for chilies, but because of some disease problems, they rotated out that first year and put it in wheat, and again, 128 bushels. This guy here is 6'7", if that tells you. And then chilies. We've effectively, on all the people I've got that are growing chilies, we've doubled their dry chili production. And this is one of my growers over south of Lowell. We went from, on a good year, he could make a bale and a half, and since he's put in drip, his average is over 4. That's my living. Now, this picture gets me in trouble. After this weekend, take him back to daycare. The daycare lady calls me. Says, we need to have a talk. I said, what's wrong? I said, your son. I said, what's the point you did? He goes, it's not what he did, it's what you did. I said, what did I do? He said, he told me that you took him out this weekend and he spent all day Saturday with a stripper. Think about what you're doing before you do it and make sure of the consequences.